All right, let's dive into this really fascinating corner of global finance. We're going to uncover a powerful, kind of hidden force. It's this wild story about how the quiet decisions of just a couple of companies can predictably make the stock markets of entire countries either surge or completely plummet.
And, we'll start with a puzzle. Let me ask you this. What if there was a recurring event, something you could literally mark on your calendar, that reliably causes a country's entire stock market to swing wildly up or down? A predictable boom or bust? I mean, could something like that actually exist? Well, turns out it absolutely does.
And what's so interesting is this pattern that researchers found. Take a look at this chart. When a market gets some good news, an upgrade, its price, as you can see in that first huge bar, just skyrockets. We're talking an average of over 23% between the announcement and the day it takes effect. But then, almost like clockwork, look what happens next. It gives back a huge chunk of that gain, falling over 12% in the year that follows. It's a classic case of what they call price overshooting.
So what in the world is causing this massive multi-billion-dollar swing? Is it some secret society of investors pulling the strings? A government conspiracy? Well, the answer is, believe it or not, surprisingly public. It's hiding in plain sight. And it all comes down to the quiet, methodical decisions made by just a handful of companies.
So, meet the index providers. You've probably heard of them. Companies like MSCI and FTSE Russell, you can see them here. They are these incredibly powerful, yet kind of low-key gatekeepers of global investment. The crazy thing is, they don't invest a single dollar themselves, but their decisions dictate how trillions of dollars get invested by everyone else.
Their power comes from this really simple but profound concept called index benchmarking. Basically, it's where these enormous investment funds, and we're talking not just passive index funds, but even a lot of actively managed ones, are contractually required to measure how they're doing against a specific index. And, this is the crucial part, they're required to hold the assets that are in that index.
In this slide right here, this just perfectly illustrates the incredible scale we're talking about. Just look at this number. Almost $10 trillion are benchmarked to MSCI's indexes alone. That's $10 trillion of capital that is, for all intents and purposes, obligated to buy or sell based on whatever decisions MSCI makes.
So the crucial point is this. When an index provider upgrades a country, let's say from a frontier to an emerging market, it's as if that entire country's stock market has just been added to the world's most exclusive shopping list. Suddenly, every single fund benchmarked to that emerging market index now has a mandate to go out and start buying up those assets. So how are these markets actually classified? What's the method behind all this money moving around? Well, it's not a secret, but it is a very, very specific process. As you can see, it's this really deliberate, very public journey. First, a country gets placed on a watch list. Then, the index providers, they spend months gathering feedback from the global investment community. And this all leads up to a formal, semi-annual review where they finally announce their decision. So this is not a surprise attack. It's a very slow, telegraphed move.
And here's a really key distinction. The criteria they use aren't about whether a country's economy is good or if its companies are fantastic investments. Nope. It is all about accessibility. It's about the plumbing. Can a large international institution easily and efficiently buy and sell securities, move money in and out, and just generally operate within that market's financial system?
And this table here gives you a great example of what that actually means in practice. To be considered a developed market by someone like FTSE, the requirements are just way stricter than for an emerging market. For instance, the settlement process, how trades are finalized, it has to be completely seamless and frictionless. The currency has to be liquid and easy to hedge. These are the nitty-gritty operational details that really matter.
This quote from MSCI about the UAE just illustrates the point perfectly. For years, the UAE was kept in the less prestigious frontier market category because of issues exactly like this. International investors had to use this cumbersome dual account structure, and it was just an operational headache. It had nothing to do with the quality of the companies there. It was all about the plumbing of their financial system.
Okay, so we've got the players, the index providers. We've got the mechanism, this whole benchmarking thing, and we have the process, the accessibility review. Now that we understand all the pieces, let's look at the playbook and connect it all back to that really strange price pattern we saw at the beginning.
And just like that, the mystery is solved. When a market is scheduled for an upgrade to a more popular index, everybody knows a massive wave of mandatory buying is on its way. So what do savvy investors do? They front-run that demand, buying in advance and pushing prices way up. Then, after all the index funds have been forced to buy on the effective date, that artificial price pressure just vanishes, and the market comes back down to earth. And of course, the exact opposite happens for a downgrade.
This predictability creates this fascinating playbook for investors. I mean, if you manage a frontier fund and one of your countries gets upgraded, the smart move is to hold that stock right up until the last possible second on the effective date, riding that wave of forced buying to the very peak. But if you're the manager of the new emerging markets fund, you face a much tougher choice. Do you buy early at a better price, but risk underperforming your benchmark in the short term? Or do you just wait and buy at the top along with everybody else?
And this leaves us with a final, really provocative question about this idea of market efficiency. In a world that's obsessed with high-frequency trading and instant information, here we have this powerful, predictable force that moves trillions of dollars in entire national markets. And it's not based on some secret algorithm or hidden data. It's all based on a public set of rules hiding right there in plain sight. What does that tell us about how markets really work?